Good morning. Today is Sunday, October 12th, 2025, and this is the weekly Bitcoin price forecast, looking at where Bitcoin went in the last week and where it could potentially go in the future. So this was, for anyone paying attention, Friday was absolutely abysmal for Bitcoin. The largest liquidation event in crypto history. So, I mean, that includes all the Bitcoin and alts and Ethereum, Solana, and all the other, miscellaneous coins that are out there. So 19 billion total worth of liquidation. So we see that candle on the monthly chart, right? So October started out great. It really came out the gate swinging it got all the way up to 126 from 114. So it saw like a $10,000 shoot up, and then it just came crashing down on Friday. Friday, I think it was pretty early on in the day, I think about 10 a.m. There was a tweet from Trump about China and tariffs and, imposing 100% tariffs on Chinese goods and all this other stuff. Market came crashing down. There's a lot of other stuff in the background going on besides just the tariffs. I mean, there's problems with the yen and the bond auctions and all this other stuff, but that is what people will point to as a catalyst because that is around the time that things started. There was no news event that happened. And it hit all the markets too. I mean, it hit the USD JPY, it hit the NASDAQ and all the stock indexes, pretty much everything except for gold. Gold and silver, they saw positive returns on Friday, but everything else was, absolutely down. So this is the monthly chart. Again, we're still very much so in this range. We're seeing a lot of rejections from this area around 123 to 125. So price gets up here, shoots down, gets up here and shoots down again. So 125 is definitely an area to clear. Again, that's a pretty round number, right? So, I mean, you think about going from different places from 25,000 to 50,000 and then 50,000 to 75,000 somewhere in here. You see that was a decent area. 50,000 here, that was a decent area where it had to, hold for a little while. And then 100,000 right around here, we see it held for this time. And now we're contending with 125. So what's going to happen in my mind eventually is that we're going to get above 125 and it's going to come back down to 125 again before continuing to go on to the upside. We got to be realistic and objective, I should say. We got to be objective about where it's at. So right now it's in a range and we're seeing this rejection from 125. So it's going to be interesting moving forward to see how this plays out. But the thing to note that his price did hold. Like, other markets saw absolute crashes, down to astronomical levels. But really, all Bitcoin did was just come back into the range of maybe this was an overextension for a bit, but it just came back to what reality was. Let's look at the weekly chart. So again, we see that this area still holds very well. And I'll turn on the drawings in a bit to kind of see like some of the different areas, but I've talked often about this 21-week moving average and it being a key indicator of where price could be. So this dump in February from, what was this? I guess like February to March, early April, that touched the 100-week moving average. So, I mean, that was something to behold for sure because now, okay, it's touched. I'm sorry, this is a 50-week moving average. This is a 21-week moving average and the 50-week moving average. So your 21-week moving average, if it respects this, okay, we're still in an uptrend. And then you saw like this kind of pseudo downtrend as well. This wasn't even really like it touched the 50-week before, but this was more so the result of the moving average just catching up really. It finally caught up and then it swung to the upside. This was a bit of a crash down, but we see here in this major number one liquidation event, it didn't even get below the 21 moving average. So that's optimistic for sure. Let's take a look here. We see that price is just kind of ranging. It's going back and forth and back and forth. I did update the short-term holder realized price, so that's sitting at 13,790. I'm sorry, 113,790. So right now, price is technically below the short-term holder realized price, and that is an indicator that things could be going a little bit south. But what I see too is like, all right, well, it's still touching. It's not like if it was down here, then yeah, absolutely. At this point, I'm going to be saying, hey, this is something we really need to pay attention to. But at this point, what I see is a couple things. Now, if you get down to this area, you're contending with three major areas. You're contending with the 100-day moving average, the 50-week moving average. I'm sorry, we're still on the weekly chart. 50-week moving average, the $100,000 level, the bottom of this uptrend channel, which is the exact same thing that you were dealing with around this area, except the number was 75 and not 100,000. So if it gets back down to 100,000, hey, it is what it is. I think this is a very strong area. But still, we have, I mean, I'm not even counting it over just yet. So we have a lot of strong areas right here. So we have the short term hold to realized price. You have the 21-week moving average. You have the escape velocity line, which I've talked about so much, to where a price has to get above this line and keep going before we actually count it as, a new bull cycle. Because typically what will happen is price will get to this line and then it just crashes. It's over. But we see now it's thoroughly gotten above it. And it has sustained for weeks and weeks and weeks since really mid-year. So what I'm looking at is, hey, maybe not immediately we're going to go back up. I don't think so. Maybe we actually might go a little bit down further, maybe like to 105 or something. But we're going to get to the point now where it's, all right, well, things are going to start, going back up if we start printing money. And unfortunately, that is the thing with Bitcoin, and it is the thing with all the other assets. If you really just, I mean, if I've learned anything from the past 130 weeks or so that I've been doing this, it's that the money printer dominates. And right now, we are in a rather low liquidity environment, just historically looking at the different charts and graphs of what the Fed holds and all this other stuff. The liquidity is low across the board, and people are getting margin called. And that's a lot of the reason that you see a lot of these liquidations and cascading events. So, we'll see. Time will tell. Market open on Monday is going to be very interesting with the indexes and all the other kind of aspects of the market that we have, from stocks and gold and bonds and all this other stuff. But we're talking about Bitcoin right now. So the other thing that I see is the 200-day moving average. We went down to the daily chart. Let's look at where we're at. So we have the 21-week moving average, but also this is similar to the 200-day moving average, somewhere in this area, right? At this point, price has touched the 200-day moving average, and realistically, if we extend this out a little bit, it's going to shift the thing up a little bit. But if we just extend this line a bit, that's telling me that, hey, we've also touched the bottom of this channel. Touch the bottom of this channel, touch 200-day moving average, touch the escape velocity line, a little bit below the short-term hold to realized price. But then you also have this support here. You have this support area that it came down and tapped. So coming back from here, this has been resistance, 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 and then it broke resistance, and then came back down again. Support, support, support. So we'll see if the support holds one more time. So again, you have a decent amount of stuff that's going on right here that shows that, hey, price came down almost exactly to the area that it was supposed to come down to, right? So it came down past all of these moving averages right here. And really, the moving averages stop meaning as much once they're in a range like this. Like you see, and I mark them off by crosses. And the indicator does that automatically whenever they cross over. So once you start seeing a whole bunch of crosses like this, all in the straight line, and like they're not moving, well, then you're not really in a trend anymore. So we see the last cross was here. The next cross was way up here. That's a trend. This is a downtrend. So you saw a cross here. The next cross was way below here. So that's something that you can look at to say, like, all right, are the moving averages crossing over in the same place? They're roughly crossing right here at about 114, 115,000, somewhere in this $1,000 to $2,000 range. So that's not really a trend to me. What is a trend is that when you want to see higher crosses and lower crosses if it's in a downtrend. But right now, I mean, we'll probably see a cross up here too, depending on how long price stays here. But you could see a cross that happens, right here, somewhere in this range. So we will see. 4-hour chart. Let's see what happened here. So this was Friday coming into Thursday, Friday, and it just absolutely tanked from this is the 7 a.m. candle to 11. It just tanked for the entire day. And let's even go down. We'll go down to the 1-minute chart and just see exactly what this looked like. It was fast. It was very fast. Maybe 15 minutes is better. 15 minutes might be a little bit better. There's a 15-minute chart. So from 8:30 a.m., market had just opened. From 8:45 a.m. after market opened, there was not a chance. If you were not short, you were getting stopped out. And then so right around, what is this, 15:30? So that's 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock, it just absolutely took a nosedive. All the way through market close, and then it settled. So market closed at roughly 4 o'clock. And again, Bitcoin goes 24/7, so it's not really a concern. But it does move a lot more when the market is open. So you see that after that it just ranged, but this was a show for sure. I mean, it dropped. How far did it drop? It dropped $15,000 in the span of 8 hours. 8 hours, it dropped $15,000. So that's crazy. It's definitely a crazy move to see. You know, again, you see this crossover, and you didn't see another cross until down here. So it's a definite downtrend, right? Price is already below the moving average. Technically, it had been below the moving average for some time, and like we see high, lower high, lower high, lower low, lower low, and then you have a lower. I guess you could kind of call this like a what anyway. But this is a lower high. I mean lower low, and then you lower high, and then eventually it just fell off. So I mean, this was really coming since Wednesday. It just couldn't make new highs. And when you see that, hey, that's a sign that we're probably not going to do too much. But I have talked about the charts for 11 minutes at this point because, again, this is a very interesting week, a lot to talk about. But let's look at the economic news. Nothing really major this week. I mean, because, again, all the economic news is getting pushed because we're in a government shutdown. Again, we see everything is tentative. Down here, unemployment, tentative, tentative, tentative. Non-farm employment change, tentative. CPI, it's supposed to be Friday, October 24th, if we're out of this shutdown, because that's probably tentative too at that point. So to be determined for sure, definitely to be determined and to see what we'll do. Unsurprisingly, we are in extreme fear at this point. This is the fear and greed index for Bitcoin, extreme fear. We really have seen it kind of tank from here. So let's zoom in just a bit. It was on the green. It was on the up and up and up and up. So 72, what was the high that we hit? 73 roughly, 74-ish. And then now it dropped all the way back down to 24. So extreme fear. Typically, that is the time that you want to buy, is when it's in extreme fear. But as you can see, I mean, that's definitely not, financial advice, because you can look at it the same way and say, all right, well, it can stay in extreme fear if this is really a bull trend, if this is really a bear market. And that was just like, the first blip of things to come. But I don't think that we're in a bear market. We just don't have the indicators to say that shit. It's been a continuous uptrend, and we really just don't have the liquidity on our side. And I think that's going to change in the near future. So again, this is the tweet that I'm referencing. This is official. Crypto just saw the largest liquidation event in history, with 1.6 million traders liquidated, over 19 billion worth of leverage. Crypto positions were liquidated in 24 hours, 9 times what the previous record was. So there's another tweet under here that kind of explained what the previous ones were. Top 5 liquidation events of all time. Last Friday and Saturday, biggest one, 19 million. It's not even close to the other ones. Like, so February of 2025, earlier this year, what we talked about before that downtrend started, 2.2 billion. So that's 9 times the biggest one, the next biggest one. May of 2021, I think that was the FTX event. March of 2020, COVID. January of 2021, I don't know what happened here. I'm not sure what happened in January 2021. Maybe just some type of a precursor to FTX, but this was a big one. And I think this is coming on the heels of hype and hyperliquid and perp trading and leverage trading on hyperliquid has gone very, very big in the last couple weeks or whatever. But we'll see. We'll see how that ends up going. So. Yeah, let's take a look here. Yeah, those are pretty much the ones. So I think the other interesting part is the fact that Michael Saylor did not buy anything this week. October 5th, 7:23 a.m. No new orange dots this week. Just a $9 billion reminder of why we hold. And then suddenly we have the biggest liquidation event in crypto history. So I just think that time is interesting. Maybe listen, the big players know when things are going to happen before they happen. This is all information war. It's all information warfare, and realistically, stuff is reflected in the price. Like all the information that you can have is reflected in the price. You won't know what the big players know, but you can follow the price and see what things are likely to do. Now, this one is definitely one of those black swan events. You can't really predict it. Stuff's going to drop that significantly across all markets. Definitely one of the bigger events that we've had in any market, especially crypto. So Not one that you really could have predicted, but you know, this is why it's always important to, especially in something as volatile as crypto, to stay away from excessive leverage, and to really just stay in spot and just continuously buy more and more. We're not in a bear market yet. I don't believe that by any means. I just don't think so. If anything, you'll just see an extended period of ranging. But I think what's going to happen, as I spoke about before, they're going to kick on the money printers, and then things are really going to resume. Like we just haven't seen that up until this point, really since 2021. So yeah, it's definitely interesting times, and we'll just continue to see what happens. So again, this has been Chris Talks Crypto. Check out any crypto-based resources on christalkscrypto.com, and I will see y'all on the moon. Take care. Bye-bye.